Hi, welcome to Easy Breezy Math. In this video on my whiteboard, what I have today is understanding exponents. And again, what I try to do in my videos is I try to get you deeper into the math to where we understand it. When you understand it, it becomes a lot more fun than just the robotic way that we've been learned to teach it in school. Okay. So when we do exponents, there's some things we want to be aware of, right? We have addition and then we have multiplication. We know that multiplication is just repeated addition. Okay. Exponents are just repeated multiplication. So it just gets that next level, right? So here, if I have 5 squared, that's a pretty simple one. That means 5 times 5. And we want to think of it that way. 5, the little dot is going to mean times for us. And we know that's 25, okay? We always want to get this in our head. This is a 5 by 5. It's actually the shape of a square. When we have a square, 5 by 5. Those are all the things that we should be thinking about when we go 5 times 5, all right? 3 to the third power. Now, I can actually think of this as a cube if I wanted to. I could think of that as cube 3 by 3 by 3, 3 times 3 times 3. It is 3 times 3 times 3, which gives me 9, and then times 3 again, 27, right? So again, I want to think about breaking these down every single time to what they actually are. 2 to the fifth power, well, I should automatically be thinking, okay, that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you do that all the way 5 times, you'll end up with the answer of 32. That's 2 to the fifth power. And here, 10 to the fourth power is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That's just going to be a 10 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 10,000. Again, you will still want to think of it as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and then 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That's what should be going on in your head and in your brain, right? So that way, when we get to problems like this, when we have to put them together, we want to have people to remember what it is we're supposed to do with these. This could be a number in here. I've decided to go right on to the x because that's what we use a lot in algebra, the famous x, right? So here, if this is x times x, and this is x times x times x times x. Now, how many x's do I have multiplying all together? It is x to the sixth. This is how we explain it, and this is how we want our students to think about it every single time up here in their heads. They're saying, okay, that's 2 of them, that's 4 of them, altogether that's 6 of them. I don't have to try to remember what am I supposed to do when I multiply numbers with exponents. That's when I add the exponents. Okay, memorizing that is gonna help, but knowing this is gonna be, what is it? Priceless. All right? So same thing here, x to the third times x to the sixth. I'm thinking of my rules, and I'll just say, okay, that's gonna be x to the ninth. Same thing here, when we expand these, now we'll have on the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's over 1, 2, 3 x's. Those become ones. We like to say they become ones. They don't cancel. Nothing gets canceled in math. They divide to ones, and we'll end up with 2 x's on the top. So that gives me an x squared. I could write it over 1, but that's not necessary. The answer is x squared. So here I'll have 4, and I'll have this is like an x to the 1. We'll talk about that down here. And then what I end up having here is x to the third. So just like multiplication is repeated addition, this is repeated subtraction. So when we get to the exponents, we're just doing the subtraction here. We get to the exponents, we're just doing the addition here. So it all correlates, it all makes sense. Let's take a look at here. This is a great little exercise we love to put on our sheets. Remember, make our own sheets. Even if you're just doing it for warm up, you want to start to create your own lessons. Here, I have a little chart what I'm going to fill in. I'm going to fill all these numbers in for my 3. My base number is 3. It's on the bottom, base bottom. That's not too much of a stretch, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the numbers. Let's start with the easiest one. What is 3 squared? 3 squared we know is 9, right? Okay. So 3 squared is 9. I think we did 3 to the third power. That one's going to be 27. And then if we have 27 and we multiply that by one more 3, we'll get 81. So I just went that way and I went ahead and multiplied them. But if I go this way, notice I'm dividing by 3. So here I divide by 3, here divide by 3. It would only make sense. 9 divided by 3 that is 3. So any number to the first power is that number itself. What happens when I take 3 and divide it by 3? Okay, so this is where we get to things like this, where it's really hard for students to remember and understand. But right around here, if I divide that by 3, I'll get 1. And that works for every number. And this is why. Any number to the 0 power is just 1. Okay, now I have a negative exponent. So what happens with a negative exponent? Well, here I'm multiplying. Remember, if I'm going this way, I'm going to divide by 3. So I'll have 1 divided by 3, right? We want to remember this means division. Well, a lot of things people don't show us is that 1/3 actually literally written like this means division. The fraction is divide. These two dots just stand for numbers. All right. Take a look at this one. I'm just going to divide that by 3 again, and I'll get the 1/9. So I'm starting to see my patterns. Patterns are everywhere in math. This is why musicians do so well in math, or they should. Divide that by 3 again, 1/27, and divide that by 3 again, 1/81. So I filled in my chart, and now I have pretty much the full story of exponents. Exponents are a great way to do higher math problems. It's just a faster way of multiplying, and we want to understand it that way to be able to break the numbers down and build them back up together, not memorize a bunch of rules that we have to, it's something else that takes us away from the true concept of math. Knowing that true concept is going to allow you to go higher and higher in math. All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.